Hi, Lyssa deHart here. And in this video, which is a follow-up to the prior video on what elements do you need to be paying attention to in your MCC coaching, this video is specifically about coaching mistakes at the MCC level and what not to do. It always blows my mind a little bit that 66.5% of you who regularly watch this channel are not subscribed. So before we dive in, I'd like to ask a little favor. If you're enjoying these videos, if you're finding value in them, and you want to support me and this work, I have a easy, simple, and free way for you to do that. And that's hitting that subscribe button. It helps more people discover the channel. It helps people get this information that you are finding valuable. And it helps my work make a difference. And here's my promise to you in return. I'll keep showing up. I will listen to you. I will try and create the content that is most of value to you. I will listen to your feedback, and I will keep bringing you topics, insights, and guests on my podcast that you want to see. This channel is really here to support your learning, my learning, all of our learning and growth. And I appreciate so much you being part of it. And again, subscribing in order to help support me bring you this work. Thank you. So I would like to really go back through these qualities that are important for an MCC coach and really look at some of these things that can trip us up. If you're going for your MCC, there are some habits that you're absolutely going to get dinged on in your evaluation. So today I really want to talk about how do we break down the things that we need to stop doing if you want to coach at the MCC level, and especially if you want to pass an assessment at the MCC level. Once again, I want to make a huge acknowledgement and shout out to Fran Fisher, MCC, whose insights have shaped so much of my thinking about what we're covering today. I'm really learning through my own work and getting mentor coaching and having my work assessed. And she is a huge, huge part of that. So I just really want to give her all the props I can for the work that she has done and how she is really improving my coaching. So number one, quality that we need to be thinking about in the MCC level, again, depth. And what we're not doing in order to get to depth is the thing that we're going to focus on. So we need to avoid these superficial, surface level, directive coaching conversations. Instead, we want to explore. We want to dive below the waterline. I often talk about my clients in a gender neutral form of mermaid. I guess I could say merman, merperson, but honestly, mermaid just works for me. So it means, though, those people who can dive below the waterline, who are willing to do the exploration for themselves. And so that allows us this capacity to get above actions, results, actions, results, actions, results, and to start to suss out what are those drivers that are down there that are leading to the actions that are then ultimately getting the results. If we don't change at a very deep level some of these things, then what happens is the actions won't stick. So that's why we get people who have no sticky end goals or transformational goals, because they didn't get deep enough in their work to understand what is their reasoning behind why they're behaving and doing and thinking and whatever the things that they're doing, and thus getting the results that they're getting. So things we don't want to be doing either is leading the client. I cannot tell you how many calls I have heard where coaches started with, let's start by taking a breath. That alone will just take you out of the running, honestly, because you're beginning the call by leading the client through an exercise. And I remember listening to a coach one day talk about As soon as I asked them if they would like to do like a visualization or something like that, I stepped out of MCC coaching. I was no longer there. And I understand that 100% now, because it is the coach directing the thinker and not the coach following the thinker. So the other thing that we do is, if we start to be directive and we're like, you said these 3 things, I think we should focus on X. What we're doing then is we are pulling the thinker out of their own thought process. We might say instead something like, I heard you bring up 3 different threads, and they may be woven together in some way. What is most bubbling up is important to you. We want to turn it over to them. We want them to be the one to share with us what's important to be explored. And that means we have to let go of an attachment that they're going to talk about the things we're comfortable with. They may talk about stuff that we're not comfortable with. So again, this idea of the dance, you are not the leader in the dance. You are the partner who follows, which means that you may feel like your toes are getting stepped on because you're not allowed to lead. So that's usually though because you're not really good at following. So it's a good opportunity to, zhuzh up your dance moves. So the other thing that really shows up is the interpretation that we do. And coaches do this, and they do it subtly, and that it's not intentional. It doesn't come from a bad place. But over summary is a great example of this, where we're subtly and with a very nuanced manner influencing what the thinker is going to be talking about. So, or we may be blatant. So I saw this smile on your face, and I can tell you're just really feeling happy. Now, that is a huge assumption. People smile for a lot of reasons. People smile because they're nervous. People smile because they just had a funny little insight. People smile because they're feeling joyful. So it's an opportunity to ask instead of assume. Quick interruption, and I just want to say thank you so much for being on my channel, for liking and subscribing to the work that I'm doing. It means a great deal to me, and I'm very appreciative of it. I also want to extend an invitation to my monthly Q&As so that you have an opportunity. If you're a coach, it's my treat. Sign up below or follow the link, and you can come each month and have an opportunity to get a resource development CCE, as well as participate in a really rich conversation about how we show up as coaches and what we would like to be playing with in our own work, basically. So you are invited, and thank you for being here. One of the things that I'm working on in my own work, mostly because a friend of mine, it drives him absolutely crazy, is that I do a lot of back channeling. And back channeling is when we go, yeah, oh yeah, And this is a therapeutic thing that it's a psychological term, honestly, that comes out of this linguistics of how we show that we're listening and that we're partnering and that we're present, is that we do back channeling. But there is a place in which we are doing too much back channeling. And so if you're finding yourself in your coaching going, it's probably an opportunity to throttle back, put the zipper on, and be very judicious with your and yes, because they can really interrupt the flow of the thinker and their process. And that is not what we're trying to do at the MCC level. There's also this sort of formulaic questions where we're just trying to ask, we don't know what else to ask. So we're tell me more, or what else? It's an opportunity that we need to take to look at ourselves to see what were we not hearing in what they just shared. This is the reason I think having a transcription process like Ray Notes, which is the one I use all the time, is so brilliant, because I can start highlighting in there all the things that the thinker shared with me. And if I come up with what else, what did I just miss? What are my other choice points where I could have asked a question and leveraged an insight or an awareness or something that they had already commented about versus something that just kind of demonstrates, I don't know what to do. I don't know what the question is. I didn't really hear it. I didn't really understand it, which demonstrates to an assessor, my guess, is that you're not really fully present. You're not fully listening. So the second thing is the partnership again. So what we're not wanting to do is take control. And again, this kind of goes back to the leading. This is about co-creation. It is about exploring what is important to the person that we are working with. Again, I just kind of go back to the over summary. When we over summarize, we cannot help it. But what we do is we focus the person very narrowly into the things that our biased listening heard and thought were important. And we may be right. So I'm not saying you're never right when you do this, but I am saying that you have put them into a funnel, and that funnel is not as expansive as you need to be at the MCC level. It really needs to be a wide open highway in front of them. There are 1,000 roads they can take in front of them. And what we say instead of, are we doing this, that, or the other thing, or should we look here? We're instead saying, where would you like to look next? What is showing up as most important now? How would you like to explore this further? And we're really going into a deeper exploration based on what they're learning about themselves as we have the conversation. I think also, and I'm definitely guilty of this one, failing to check in. How are we doing on this? I just had a mentor coaching session this morning, and one of the things that happened was the client sort of changed the outcome for the conversation. What had started was one outcome, and then somewhere in the middle of the conversation, it changed. And it was a very short demonstration. And at the end, when we're debriefing, the coach was very aware of it and said, I wish I had taken the time to read a contract, like, oh, I'm hearing something. Is that different? Are we in a different direction now? Is there a different outcome? And where would you like to begin the exploration of this? And he missed that opportunity. But yet, that is what we need to be doing at the MCC level for sure, is that when we notice these subtle shifts in how the conversation is moving, that we acknowledge it and at least ask, has something shifted or is this connected? And how would you like to proceed? So really it means trusting at the MCC level. What we're looking for in this particular quality of partnership is this deep trust in the client to lead us, trust that we can check in and we're following them and we're letting them drive this particular bus. The third quality that is really important is curiosity. And curiosity isn't just about asking questions. It's also about how we're listening. So the thinker will share with you something. And for me, I love metaphors because I hear them all the time. It becomes a place of curiosity. I don't need to worry about the next question because I'm listening to their language and I'm hearing what sound like powerful beliefs. I'm hearing powerful metaphors. They may be visual metaphors. They may be somatic metaphors. They may be general metaphors, it just doesn't matter. Or I may be looking at a facial expression or body language, and I'm trying to be curious about those things so what they do is it invites the thinker to actually have emergent insights and awarenesses. And so it's a missed opportunity when we don't truly deeply listen to the words that are being spoken and then be curious about the things that are offered to us. I think another thing is really this jumping back and forth, the changing of the coaching hat between asking and then teaching or telling. And that reminds me of keep your ego and yourself out of it. I used to tell stories like, I don't know if this would be useful, but let me share this little anecdote and see if it's helpful. And I think in hindsight, that was a real disservice to the people I was working with. I apologize now to all of you who might watch this and go, yeah, she did that and it wasn't that great. But I think it's a real disservice to the thinker. And so I think keeping it clean and keeping it focused on their development and learning is key here. Interrupting to share what you're noticing is fine if it is something that they just shared that they're not noticing. But just interrupting because the story is going on too long, how would that make you feel if you were telling me a story and I said, could you please put a bullet in that, or like come to a point, or like, could you, what did people say? Can you bottom line that? I mean, that is probably one of the most disrespectful things I could imagine having somebody say to me if I'm really processing something. Now, if somebody's circling the drain and we're noticing that, we might be like, hey, I interrupt. And they say, sure. And we go, I'm noticing this pattern that seems sort of circular. And I'm curious if you're noticing a pattern and what if anything, that means for you. That might be a place to do it. But it is really, how do we turn an interruption, one, into a place that is an interruption that is respectful, and two, that serves their learning. So this brings us to the fourth thing, which is learning and awareness. And so it's really about discovery and not telling. So we're not telling, we're not mentoring, we're not advising, we're not consulting, we're not teaching, we're not therapists. This isn't school. You're not the guru. This is their mountain, not yours. You have your own mountain to climb. Go climb that one, and then you can be the expert in everything. So let go of those kind of other roles. Don't change your coaching hat. Stay in the role of coach. Assuming instead of asking. We do this all the time. Somebody uses a word, especially true of values. A person uses the word integrity, and we go, oh, I know what integrity means. And so we make a lot of assumptions based on our perspective of integrity. Their perspective of integrity may be worlds apart from us. It may be identical, but might not be. And in fact, people use value words all the time, and they don't even know what they mean by it. So it's a great opportunity when you hear somebody use a value word like family, like what does family mean to you? Like, how do you know when is it, and they'll say things like warmth and community and a sense of like being a part of something and those people that I love the most. And how do you know, like, what does it feel like to be in that space of that value of family? It really comes up also in words like respect, integrity, trust. Like, there are a lot of different things that honesty, that people are like, they think they know what they mean, but when you start digging into them and getting curious about them, all of a sudden they're like, yeah, like my idea of it is broader as a result of understanding my own thinking about what that value even means. So again, it's the invitation and not the leading and telling, which brings us to the final fifth quality we want to be paying attention to, which is ease and flow. And there is a rhythm to a dance. There is a rhythm to music. There's a rhythm to a conversation. And if we're interrupting all the time and breaking the rhythm of the session, if the thinker offers us this and we ask this question that doesn't even seem to be related in any way to what it is that they asked, because we were looking at our sheet and it's that question is there and we're like, oh, that would be a good one to try using. We're breaking the flow. It becomes our agenda to demonstrate coaching versus having a coaching conversation. Multitasking. How many of us are multitasking? I don't mean like you're writing on your, doing text messaging while you're coaching, but I mean, like, we have all of our notifications are on, so we're getting dinged and donged. I've listened to plenty of coaching demonstrations, and all kinds of stuff is ding-donging all around in the conversation. And besides that, we're all probably a little cognitively overloaded with those state of the world or families. We may have sick relatives, a sick child, a sick pet, like any number of things could be going on. And we may be multitasking in our head. Like I need to go to the grocery store and I need to pick up some milk and I've got to get the salad greens and I've got to get, the medicine and all of those different things. And so like, what do we need to be doing to bring ourselves to be fully present in the moment with the person who we are with in this coaching container? I think coaches we try too hard sometimes. We see that little blinking red light and all of a sudden it freaks us out. And all of a sudden we want to try and demonstrate perfect coaching. If I could give you anything, there's no perfect coaching, but there is a spectrum of coaching from really useful to not so useful. And so we really want to be closer to the really useful side of things. So we're really giving ourselves time to prepare to be ready. If we know we're going to be doing a recording for our MCC application, then what do we need to be doing beforehand? Maybe not have meetings back to back to back to back to back. No, now I'm going to record. What do you need to do to give yourself time? You need to go out, take a walk. Do you need to make sure you're drinking enough water? Do you need to do some deep belly laughs? Like it's completely up to you, but how will you be present? I think that is super important. And I think another thing, and I'm an external processor, which can drive people crazy, and I get it, but interrupting an external processor is like messing with their mojo. Most of the time, as an external processor, I am actually processing just verbally. And so the interruption, if I'm really doing my work, is hard on my ability to keep my focus and to anchor my own learning. So I think really paying attention to what are we doing as the partner in this? And the more I'm really working on zip it in coaching conversations, because I think it helps allow the space for the thinker to do the thinking. So it's not about you working harder. It's not about you over coaching. It's not about perfect coaching, but it's about relaxing into and allowing for the thinker to lead us through the coaching conversation. So there you have it. The biggest mistakes that MCC coaching demonstrations have and the pitfalls that you want to avoid at all costs. Which of these do you see in your own coaching? Put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you're noticing for yourself, and also what things you're going to really practice on doing different. Like I'm in coaching conversations because I do too much back channeling. And so if you didn't see the first video, I invite you to go back and watch the first video on what MCC coaching, those qualities that demonstrate MCC coaching, look and sound like. So I hope this was useful. Please subscribe if you haven't. Please like, leave comments. We listen to you. If you have any ideas for further videos, don't hesitate to put it in the chat below also. And I wish you a wonderful MCC journey. Cheers.